You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the Podcast Mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the Podcast Mogul Phil Better. Today, I am very, very excited and honored to have Rikki Arundel, a motivational speaker speaking on diversity, speaking on gender roles, speaking on a lot of different things that are coming up in the world today. And I'm so thankful to have you here today, Rikki.
It's a pleasure to be here, Phil.
Rikki, for my audience, since they may not know who you are, could you quickly give us a little bit of an introduction?
Yeah, I'm basically a speaker. I've been speaking professionally for about 40 years now, which ages me a lot. But I got heavily involved in technology back in the 90s when the internet had just started. Literally, I had my first website by 1994, and I got heavily involved in extranets and all sorts of good stuff. Wrote a book, The ABC of the World Wide Web, in 1998, when most people didn't even know there was an internet. We were still trying to figure it out. But I think probably the big thing that shifted me is that I now speak, partly because I've really lost the glamour of racing around the world from one hotel to another using air-conditioned cars and jets and planes, never even knowing which country you're in, let alone what's going on. I like to do it all from my dining room now. I can travel around the world, and I can multi country.
You can hit multiple countries from that.
Yeah, but I can speak in multiple countries at the same time. So this is what happens. I get a lot of clients that come to me that say, "Look, we've got people in Mauritius, we've got some people in India, we've got a few in London, we've got some in Netherlands, and we want to get them all together and have a talk about the gender issues, that affect different people." So it's quite interesting being able to sort of work internationally, but actually not even leave here, and that's been the big benefit, hasn't it, of COVID, that we've all learned how to use online technology and become digital entrepreneurs through online communications. And that's really where I am now. So I speak about gender and transgender issues and storytelling. I still do a bit about speaking, but mostly I do it digitally now. Mostly it's virtual speaking,
which saves on fees. Because if you think about it, you don't have to, there's no hotels anymore, so you don't have to deal with the hotel food, which, let's just be honest, the continental breakfasts at most hotels aren't the best thing.
No, they're not. No. I can do 2-3 keynotes in a day without too much problem now, where previously it was one, lots of traveling, sitting in. And I think what people don't get is that for most speakers, as a speaker before, the whole Zoom thing took off in 2020, we spend most of our time on our own in a hotel room waiting for the meeting that's going to happen tomorrow. I much prefer the idea of the comfort of my own home until I'm ready to go online, and then we go for it. So.
Yeah, no, and plus you can always just be in shorts. That's the big thing. The shorts. No, as long as up here, as long as the upper part is good, there's no worries. Like short skirt, like whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
Now, Rikki, you said you started in the digital world back in the jump of the internet with your first book. How did you decide, like, hey, this internet thing, I don't think it's going to be a fad. I think it's going to be here for, like, how did you start getting into that?
I've always been fascinated with technology. I even tried to become a programmer back in the 70s, but I got switched into marketing, and there's always been this tug between the fact I love technology, I love playing with technology, but I also am a bit of a performer, so I like being on stage or on screen or wherever it is. So we've got this battle, and I had been involved in the financial service industry for quite a long time, and technology was slowly moving into people's lives, and and I was head of marketing, so I had a big technology-based marketing operation. So once I left there, I got headhunted into a quite big US technology company, and I could see what was going on, and the whole idea that you could actually go online somehow with your computer, and you could figure out what was the best rate that you could get for something, and you could buy everything without having the hassle of searching around and sending off. I mean, people don't realize it. Back in the 80s, if you wanted to get a quote and do some comparisons, you were setting yourself up for a month-long investigation into which life insurance policy should I buy or which car insurance policy. Now it's 5 minutes on on an internet search engine, and you've got it. So I could see really early on, and the MD of the company I did a lot of work for was really heavily into it. He could see the whole thing. It was one of the first .com booms in the UK. They did an IPO and all walked away with millions.
And then the bubble burst, of course.
No, I was a consultant, so I didn't get any of it.
Even worse.
I didn't have the shares, but never mind. But I learned an awful lot. I learned that technology really was going to change everything about our lives and the way we did everything. But my job throughout the whole of the 90s was trying to convert all of these people that were dinosaurs stuck in the world of rate books and paper-based operations. Say, come on, and then CDs came out. I mean, God. The CD-ROM arrived, and then it was a really amazing time, the 90s, as we went through it. Things, we started off with Windows in 1991, and the internet just quietly happened in the background. Nobody was even aware of that for a few years, and I think it was a really exciting time in the 90s as the whole thing just evolved. And and then at the end of the 90s, I set up the Professional Speaking Association in the UK. So we and I got very heavily involved there in setting up the association's first website so people could search for speakers, and I've always loved it. It's just and here I am at 70 now, still thinking, I'm going to keep going with this to the end.
Well, I can tell you that you have more energy than most 70-year-olds I know. So I'm pretty sure you can go at least till 90 without an issue. That's maybe 90 is probably where you should start slowing. Just maybe once a week doing a couple speeches. But Rikki, you said that you've always had the passion for the technology. You always had a passion for performing, being in front of the crowd, and I can fully feel that because I love being in front of a crowd, and it's one of the reasons I have a podcast, actually multiple podcasts, because people get to listen to me, and secretly we all just want to be listened to. I want to know what made the jump going from working for a financial institution or working for a financial company and being full-time there to deciding to risk it being a consultant and then going on and building a professional speaking hub for speakers in the UK. Like, what was the driving force? Was there a moment that was like, I want to be my own boss. I want to be the person in my life, like, that controls my destiny?
Yeah, it was the back end of the 80s. I just was beginning to, I was coming up 40, and I thought, I got into a bit of an argument with my boss because I wanted to do something and I'd gone off and done it. And I said, where were you yesterday? Oh, I had something else to do. I was busy. Oh, you were needed here. We needed this. And I thought, yeah, I'm really sick of this. I want to be able to do my own thing. And in fact, I missed out with the company that I got involved with that made a load of money. They offered me the job as marketing manager a few years later. I was doing my own thing. I was working with some associations. I'd written my first book, and I suddenly I was offered, become a director here, and you can get, we'll give you loads of money and the potential to make millions, which would have happened, but it was all, maybe then. And I thought, no, I don't want to give up this. I've just got myself now where I'm running my own life. It's tougher. Mm-hmm. There isn't any question about that. It's a lot easier to work for somebody, pick up a salary, not have to worry about, getting the accounts in at the end of the month. And, all of those challenges that come with running your own business. But the fact that I do what I want to do, and I choose who I work with. I don't have to work with somebody just because everybody else thinks, they're worth a lot of money. No. I like to work with, I've got some quite strong ethical standards, and there are people I would not work with, and there are people I love to work with. I think that's more than anything else. It was that sense that I just needed to be able to do this for me, and have that freedom.
No, I'm seeing, I don't know about yourself now in the UK, because I'm not over the UK, but I'm in the news, we're getting this quiet quitting. And I feel it is because of the entrepreneurial world that's being sprung up with YouTube sharing how people can become entrepreneurs. What was it like in the early 80s, 90s when we didn't have like a resource like YouTube to teach you to be an entrepreneur? How did you go about figuring out, like, all right, how do you run a business? Like, were there a lot of resources for you at the time?
No, there weren't. And I nearly lost everything at one point because of that, because I really hadn't figured it out, hadn't been keeping accounts very well and putting them in, and it all caught up with me. One of the reasons I changed gender was quite literally the fact that, the Inland Revenue suddenly arrived and said, you owe us 50 grand. Oh, really?
Well, that person no longer exists. Bye.
Oh, so the house went, and a few other things had to go, and the relationship went, and I paid the money literally on the 11th hour. They got their check for 50 grand. And I thought, that's a bad mistake to have made that one, because this is the problem. I just hadn't been accumulating money. So no, I hadn't learned the rules about, keeping yourself on top of it, paying as you go. And it nearly finished me. Although, to be, it all happened. It was a bit tough at the time, but it meant that I suddenly looked at my life and thought, is there anything I should be doing in my life that I'm not doing? And one of those things was, I'm not really being myself. I'm still hiding the fact that I'm transgender, and that had been hidden all my life. From the age of 6, I knew I was trans. They didn't even have a word for it then. Transgender word hadn't been invented. Mm-hmm. I just knew there was something wrong. So I should have been a girl, wasn't. And there I was at 50, and I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I've got to come out. So that was the next big leap for me. It was not so much about entrepreneurship, but about suddenly deciding I was going to do this. And within 6 months of coming out, my business had fallen off a cliff. No one would book me. No one wanted to talk to me. No, being a technology and sales speaker wasn't a thing. So I had to do the tough thing that I think most entrepreneurs probably find at some stage they've got to do. The market they're in has moved. You've got to shift. You can sometimes pivot what you know into somewhere else. Yeah. I couldn't even pivot this time. I literally stopped, grabbed what money I could from pension funds and went to university, did a master's degree in gender. Because I figured, if people won't book me because I'm transgender, what do I need to do so that they will become an expert? And it just happened to be at the time that the laws were all changing. And so suddenly there I was, I'd got my degree. I got some funding to help set up a social enterprise, and got myself into a whole different world, moved away from speaking, was still doing training. But I think one of the big things I found about being an entrepreneur is that you have to learn to be the best at something. you've got to. I see lots of people trying online entrepreneurship, and they're just grabbing stuff around and trying to sell it. I don't really believe in it. A lot of the stuff that they talk about is absolute bull. It's not the truth. They're faking it all, trying to make it look like they're doing well. Being an entrepreneur is tough. It's hard. But you really have to do something that you absolutely love, and you have to become the recognized expert in what you do, particularly in something like speaking. If people hire me, they want to know that they can ask me any question, and I'll have the answer. I'll have been there. I've done it.
And it's kind of amazing because 2 points in your life, 2 major points, if you look at it, you were at the forefront of the boom of the .com and were able to use that to leverage. And then you were at the forefront of this social change. You were at a business change, and now you're at a social change, and you're using your expertise because even though you can't do talks on marketing and sales, you can still use that knowledge to help sell your current business, your current talks on gender roles and transgender rights and all that, so that you can become the expert because you have that mastery from the previous job. That's one of the joys of being an entrepreneur, is taking your skills and using it to multiply your next skills.
Yeah, and I think most people I know who are entrepreneurs have had to make those shifts at some point. They've gone somewhere new. Something new has happened. Sometimes it's because the market. I mean, look at 2020.
Yeah.
There we were. The whole world suddenly told, okay, fine, we're just going to freeze everything. Not quite sure for how long, but basically stay home.
Stay home, enjoy the relaxation. We're going to go on pause for a bit.
So all of a sudden, thankfully, a company like Zoom saw the opportunity, and I think Zoom's probably done more for online presentations. I love StreamYard as well. It's a brilliant product which I've used. So we've had a couple of companies that really grabbed it, and interestingly, it's been new companies. That came from nowhere. The big companies like Microsoft, they had to sort of go and buy Skype and try and reverse that into another product and produce something which
it works.
It sort of works. But I always cross my fingers whenever somebody says, "Oh, we're going to do it on Teams." Okay.
I feel you there.
I've had people coming to me with Google Meet recently. Said, "I want to have a meeting on Google," and I go.
Google Meets is surprisingly well. I do enjoy Google Meet.
The thing I've had to find about Google Meet is that it defaulted to my laptop camera.
Yeah.
And I could not find how to change that. I had a whole meeting with somebody thinking,
and the whole time you're giving the speech, you're just like, okay, where's that? How do I make it look like I'm not searching for something, but still giving the relevant information?
It was just a meeting. It wasn't actually an actual presentation, I think. But I've spent the whole today, because of that, it was an 8:30 meeting this morning, and it just could not figure it out. And now I found it. I went online and I figured out where's the settings control that enables me to change the camera. Bring in I did an online conference once, and literally they used a back end software which then went into Hopin, which is StreamYard's and it had no ability to change the camera settings, so it automatically picked up something that didn't even show me at all.
Oh my God.
We had awful problems in the original first meeting, trying to do it by phone, and then I had to go right into the back end of Google's settings on Chrome, and found it in there. So and that's the thing about being a technology entrepreneur, is that you have to learn so much. Don't you?
You're constantly learning. It's a field that you never stop learning, because new things are coming out all the time to try and
my partner's going nuts at the moment because Apple have just done an upgrade on their iPhone, and it's messed up Facebook, and Facebook haven't caught up. And
that is the worst, when you get for some reason the companies don't talk to each other when they're updating their things, and then everything starts breaking, and you're like, you guys literally are next to each other in Silicon Valley. You can deliver a note.
Yeah, exactly.
You can deliver a note.
Well, have lunch together. Talk to each other.
You just walk across the street.
Yeah. But I worked in a tech company, and the guys were sitting next to each other in booths and emailed each other. So there we go.
I want to know, Rikki, in your span, accumulated a lot of knowledge. Is there a moment that you're like, this, apart from being able to have that freedom, that you said, yeah, this is the reason why I jumped in, studying gender roles, the transgender rights, and building that, or, doing the technology during your technology time? Was there a period that like, this is why I wanted, like, this is why?
I don't know if there was a moment that sort of took me into. I've always loved technology; just fascinated me right from the very beginning. Becoming an entrepreneur was more about me doing my thing. It's probably more about the speaking. When I do storytelling and speaking coaching for people, particularly executives, and I try to get them to find those extraordinary moments, those moments in their life when everything went off in a different direction. And you can, if you track back your life and do a sort of, look at your path, there'll be a moment when suddenly it sprung off onto another direction, and tracking it back to find out what was the moment when that happened. That's often the really interesting thing, where you suddenly see, boom. I was at college at 18, did my, I was trying to get to university. My dad was an engineer. He'd been in the Fleet Air Arm, and he thought engineering was the direction that you ought to be going. But I just couldn't get on with physics and, maths and stuff. Maths was okay, but the applied stuff, physics and that, just didn't work for me at all. So I failed all my A-levels, and I came back, persuaded me to let me have another year at college. I got to college. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you come and get involved in the play? We're doing Julius Caesar, Shakespeare's Julius Caesar." And I said, "Well, I don't know. Well, I don't think I'm that good at acting." He said, "Well, come along, and we've only got one changing room for the boys and the girls, so
it's a win-win. It's a win-win."
So they were still casting for Mark Antony, which is the big Romans, countrymen speech. So I learned that as much as I could, and I went out and I really blasted that and blew away all the competition, and I got the part. And the director came up to me after and said, "Okay," he said, "you got the part, but you're not good enough." Oh, really? I thought I was very good. He said, "No, you're not good enough at all." He said, "This is the big part, and I need you to be better. So I need you to try and find some of the drama classes and attend those." And it turned out that the whole drama course just fitted in with all my free time, apart from one. And it was quite a big course. It was, equivalent of what we have A-levels here. But it was a big course. So I took it, passed it, and I didn't get into drama college. But that acting was the thing that really took me into speaking, and that's took me into training to start with, and then into speaking. And then I started to see, and the moments that really made differences were, the first conference I attended, where I saw people get up on stage and deliver these speeches, and thought, "Ooh, yeah, I could do." And I set up the Professional Speaking Association here after I'd attended an SA convention in Minneapolis, and I got there, and it's like 2,500 speakers, and I just was blown away and thought, "Oh, we got to do that in Britain." So that drove me to set up the PSA. And I think it's those moments when attending conferences or having conversations has sometimes been the big shifts, where I've just gone somewhere and come back and thought, no, that's where I've got to go. That's got to be the thing. And it just fired me up. But acting more than anything else, doing that acting course at college, best thing I ever did.
I have to say, that's probably the earliest memory someone's shared where that's their why. That's when they figured out that's the as you say, the change of trajectory of their life, being in college and seeing the deciding to go on a whim to try acting, and then it opening up this new world.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was it didn't take me into a career in acting. It was, I did a conventional career in financial services and took all the professional qualifications, but I kept coming back to marketing, kept coming back to speaking, and it was right. I just knew that was it. And I was trying to track back the storytelling. I thought, I was never taught storytelling. I learned it, and where did I learn it from? And then I realized my dad had been a consummate storyteller. he'd obviously had a life during the war and everything else, and he had 25 years in the services. And he had all these amazing stories about how he personally was responsible for the sinking of the Bismarck. It probably wasn't entirely true, but he had a big part to play in it because he was there when it all happened. And then he was off to India and, with tramping through the jungles, trying, laying strips. He had this little game he used to do of wiping red hot pokers over his hand and licking them, which he'd been taught by an Indian fakir. And they were all part of the storytelling. I lived in a pub for most of my childhood. And so my dad was always telling stories to the customers. They come in. And I suppose I learned that storytelling was half the reason people came to the pub, because, Ted Arundel will be telling us a story tonight about something. I don't know how true they are, but I learned you can embellish stories. You can polish them and make them sound better. You've got to concentrate, a whole period of time into a very short moment. Mm-hmm. It becomes a great story. The things that put me on the right road, when we track it back, sometimes it's way, way back, but we don't realize it for maybe 20, 30 years before you think, that was why that happened.
Yeah, we need that vision to get that hindsight and see the bird's eye view of the world we live in, and our life that we've had. Because it's taken me looking back and saying, so those were the moments in my life that led me to.
Yeah. So
having that distance allows you to see that. Rikki, we are coming up to the end here, and I hate it. I have 2 questions left, and it sucks because I'm having a great time talking with you and learning about you. But I was wondering if you could provide a piece of advice, since you've had a long career in the with the digital world being part of it. I was wondering if you could give advice to anybody looking to jump into, looking to get their feet wet and decide maybe the corporate world or the 9-to-5 world isn't really me. I want that freedom that entrepreneurship brings. Do you have any tips for them?
You've got to be able to access that personal passion for what you're doing. And I think people too often get attracted by some advertising, some promotion. I'm just as bad. I mean, I've got the number of courses and products and, instant wealth programs that I've bought that never worked. But you learn things from it, and it's been fun. But you've got to be working with a passion inside. And the same thing when I'm talking to speakers, sense of purpose. It's got to have a passion behind it. And if you haven't got that sense of this is what I want to do. When I changed gender, I thought this was going to be a secret for all my life. Once you're out, you're out. That's the great thing about doing something like this. You can't put this back in the bottle. It's, when the secret's out, that's it. You deal with it. And when I came out big, bold, loud, because I was very well known. I was a well-known journalist and speaker. So there was no way to do it quietly. And so I think that's another thing. If you're going to do it big, do it bold, do it loud, be proud. And if as long as it's driven by a passion inside of you, says, this is what I'm meant to do. I'll tell you one story. I went to an NSA convention in Washington. I think it was Washington or Dallas. Anyway, I'd had an opportunity to get in front of about 100 really top speakers and ask one question and get 5 minutes of quick fire answers from some of the top speakers in the world. People like Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and that were there in that audience. So this was unbelievable opportunity, 5 minutes of gold. And I said, look, in the UK, the top speakers are nearly all celebrities. What do I do to become a celebrity? And there were a few answers coming around. And somebody suddenly said, Rikki, being a celebrity means being celebrated for something. What do you want to be celebrated? I thought, wow. And I didn't have the answer. 2 days later, I'm driving home back in the UK. And I don't know where this voice came from, because it was not my voice, but this big voice came into my head that said, be celebrated for being transgender. And we're live. I won't say exactly what I said.
a few choice curse words maybe have escaped the words.
You are kidding. And it wouldn't go away. This thought had got in my head, be celebrated for being transgender. My God. Is that what this is all about? And that was it. once I took the road to start coming out, there was no way to stop it. And I've never regretted it, no matter what. It's been tough. There have been times when I've had literally no money at all, but it has been, an unbelievable journey, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Celebrate, have a reason to be celebrated. You found your reason to be true.
Yeah.
You're showing that it doesn't matter. You can be who you are, no matter what in your life, period in your life. Be true to yourself. I love that. Now, I like this because it goes back. It goes into the question from Spark from Seek Discomfort, the boys over at Yes Theory. If you were 99 years old and given a chance to come back to today, what would you do right now?
Oh gosh, that is an interesting question, isn't it? If I came back to today, I think I would do exactly what I'm doing. We're going through a pretty tough time right now globally. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are facing huge problems. And I think a lot of people, when they're tackling big energy bills and prices going through the roof, cost of gas getting stupid, we forget that businesses have that same problem multiple times. So because they've got, it's just hitting businesses even more. So I'm just finding that what I've got to do is to just get out there, show up. Speak anywhere I can, speak for free, get on podcasts, guest on podcasts, write on LinkedIn, do some videos on LinkedIn. Just get out there and be out there. Because from a business point of view, that's all you can do as an entrepreneur. It's a tough world trying to get and connect with people. We can do all sorts of networking, but the thing that gets me most business is people saw me. And that's what people say. I saw your TEDx talk. I saw you on a thing. A friend of mine saw you speak on do a conference, and we'd like to. That's what most of my work comes from. That kind of word of mouth. People saw me because I got out there. And when things get tough, I know I've just got to be out there even more.
Yeah, and you've proven that you can come back from multiple hardships or going behind the 8 ball with the change in your business and all that. You're able to overcome any challenge, and I'm sure you're going to dominate for the next at least 20 years until you're 99, so you can go back at 99 and be like, I wish I was back 20 years ago.
Yes.
Having fun back on the Invest in Yourself show. Rikki, I'm going to jump off stage. I'm going to allow you to have the last little 5 minutes to let my audience know where they can connect with you, how they can book you, or anything you want to share with my audience. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you very much, Phil. Yep. I love doing what I do, which is actually about helping raise awareness and helping organizations to become more LGBT inclusive. Right now, I actually don't even have a website. It got hacked badly, and I found that I'm getting more connection through LinkedIn, which is where you'll find me. Please connect up with me on LinkedIn. There's lots of illustrations and ideas about what I do, some connections to my talks, connections to my media appearances, connections to me talking on podcasts. So if you run a podcast and you're like a guest, love to be on there. If you run an organization, you want to raise awareness of LGBT issues, connect with me on LinkedIn, chat to me. I'm sure that I can help you. And I can certainly deliver an entertaining, interesting presentation to help everybody get a better idea about this strange, weird LGBTQ world. So catch me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Rikki Arundel, Rikki Arundel, Rikki Arundel. There we are. Oh, other side. Yep. I'm the only Rikki Arundel in the world from what I can work out. So just check me out on LinkedIn, and love to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rikki. To my audience, of course, the links will be down in the show notes below to connect with Rikki. Please do. They have a wealth of information on their LinkedIn profile. Have it pulled up now just to get more information about Rikki. And I can't thank you enough, Rikki, for coming on the show today and sharing your story.
Been a great pleasure. Thank you, Phil.
You're very welcome. And my audience, you know what time it is. It's the end of the episode, so I want to thank you for listening. Thank you, Rikki, for coming on. And as always, invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.